2/3 of Texans pass away without wills. My name is Henry Hudson, and I welcome you to the Henry Hudson Hour. This podcast spotlights the lives of people in Austin, Texas, one of the most creative cities in America. Today, we're discussing death and the grieving process, followed by a lot of news coverage on some different topics. Today, I will be joined by my beautiful, intelligent sister, Emily Claypool. She and I lost both of our parents within the last year due to complications from diabetes with our father and lupus from my mother. So I just want to ask, when people ask how you've been this past year, what's the honest answer you usually don't give?
Devastation. I'm devastated as the true answer. Grief brings you to your knees. Also, it puts a lot of things into perspective, like mom and dad died so early and so young. I feel like I now have less than 30 years to live out the rest of my life. Because what if I die as early and young as they do? And it's brought a lot of fear.
They were only 65, both of them.
Yeah. So it's like, well, that whole bucket list of, oh, I'm going to have this whole long life. I don't have to worry. I'm now like, well, the first 30 years went so fast. I'm 38, 39. Shoot, I just had my birthday. I'm now really concerned about what am I going to do with the next years I get, if that makes sense.
Right. Me too. I really don't want to. I hate feeling like my life is already half over because of this. I really don't want to die young at this point in time. That's something that I'm not looking forward to. Although, of course, I do know that I have like a 75% chance of getting Alzheimer's from genetic testing. So that's awesome. So maybe it would spare me from that, but hopefully by the time we get there, there's a cure for it. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, hopefully, because I probably have about the same chances. So I don't know what's worse. I mean, although, I've been telling friends that if I get Alzheimer's, just let me be that weird, like, bog witch that just come bring me food once a week.
Yeah, my friend's grandmother is coming down with it, and he's having a really hard time dealing with it. And it's just very sad. But anyways, so our parents were married. How long were they married, Emily? I don't even know how long they were married for. From 1986 to 1999?
Yeah, the timeline is murky. So mom and dad legally separated when I was in second grade. And the divorce, because it was really bitter, wasn't fully finalized until I was either in fourth or fifth grade. It's kind of murky because, like, obviously mom wasn't like discussing this with us, but dad moved out of state back to Massachusetts by the end of fifth grade. So he was like back and forth for a while. And when he moved away, that's when it felt really like final, because he would sometimes, when you were still a baby and mom was in a bad place or whatever, he'd still come to the house and like spend the night and like help take care of us. So I always had, obviously this childhood hope of, oh, dad's back, like everything's going to be fine. Like I'm going to have both parents back. And then he moved, obviously, which was really that final nail in the coffin that, like, oh, this is serious. This is not going forward. And then in the beginning of sixth grade is when when I was in sixth grade, is when we ended up moving in with our grandmother.
Right. And we lived with her for 7 years.
Yeah.
Yes, that was an interesting experience. Um, do the two losses feel separate to you, or do they blur together like they have for me? Because I feel like they happened in such a quick succession. Well, for me, just dealing with taking care of mom the last months that she was alive, it just all went by so fast for me. And like, it just seems like it just happened like so fast. Everything just happened so quickly.
I think I was more prepared for mom because obviously she'd been so sick for so long that I started doing grief therapy and really working on those emotions and trying to let her go. As hard as that is to say, I want to cry right now, but trying to work on letting her go and making peace with the fact that I was going to lose her was a long process for me because she was sick for so long. So I'd feel like I was in a good place with it. And then I'd be, kind of back in the sadness again about it. There'd be highs and lows where I would feel very peaceful about it and like, sort of like maybe not she's going to a better place, but she'll finally be at rest and at least her battle will be over, to back to I want my mommy is the only way I can kind of phrase it, is that deep want of mom. And then dad was just shocking. Like it was really, really shocking because I know you didn't get the call about dad, I did. But when the detective finally got a hold of me in Boston, it was early, early morning on December 26th. And I was really confused because I missed the call at first. And I was like, who's calling me from Massachusetts? I was like, it must be dad. And so I kind of waited around for a minute and then I listened to the voicemail as I had just woken up. And obviously it was some detective calling me, which then I was really worried, something bad had happened or maybe dad did something bad. And I was like, oh, I just had this sort of like, what now attitude about it. And so that was really shocking. And then obviously there's the finality of all of it that I'll never get to have or make amends or have that closure for me with either parent, that there were so many things that I had always hoped and wished for. And there's a true finality, with death,
Right.
that
Yeah.
there's so much that never got
I,
said.
I feel that way about it with dad too. It's weird because our relationship with our father was very complicated. So for the past 25 years, Emily and I didn't really have a relationship with our dad. He lived in Massachusetts. We lived in Texas. We did not see him at all. Basically for 25 years. Like I don't think I saw him a single time. Did you?
No, I mean, every once in a while we'd talk when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, when I was in college. And he'd kind of put that a little bit of hope in the relationship. Like, I remember one time I was really struggling with bills while I was in college, and he ended up Western Unioning me some money to help me like pay for my car insurance because I just like was not able to make enough money. And So I was like, oh, like he's stepping up again. Like he wants to like be family, and like, not that that's what family is, but that help really meant a ton to me at that time. And he'd ask me about my major and how I was doing and if I was dating. And, there was somewhat of a normal relationship glimmer. I'm not going to say it was normal, but there was like this little bit of a glimmer that, oh, like we could have like a normal relationship now that I'm an adult. Like he wants to be a part of my life again. Um, but then that obviously ended really quickly. He kind of just stepped back again and didn't really call me ever.
Right. Well, the last time I talked to him was actually pretty recent, um, before he passed. It was awful. He spent the entire conversation talking to me about how much he worships and loves Trump. So that's how that went. Not
Yeah,
awesome for me.
not awesome for me either, bro.
I was like, okay, and yeah, so that was very weird. And he sent me some like pornographic memes that were really inappropriate and made me very uncomfortable. It was very strange. Um, but one time, a couple years ago, he showed up here at my apartment. Um, I came home and he was sitting in the courtyard outside my door in a bench. And I freaked out and I didn't say anything to him. I just ran inside and I called mom, and mom told me to call the cops. And I didn't call the police because when I went back up to the front of the house and looked outside, he was gone.
Yeah, he
Um,
was he
it
was
was
definitely
really, really,
peculiar.
really weird. It was so creepy that he just like showed up just sitting outside. I don't even know how he figured out my address. It was
Mom.
so strange. But yeah, I know he tried to send me like a lot of mail and stuff over the years, but it just never um resonated with me. I was like, this is just not enough for me. Like these presents that you send me is not gonna make up for the lack uh over the past 25 years. That's a long
Yeah,
time.
exactly. He was always good about sending Christmas presents. That was something he normally remembered to do. But I remembered maybe about 15 years ago, I guess it's been that long. He kept sending stuff to mom's house for me, and I just told her to keep it. And she was really upset about that and said I was being really selfish. And I was just like, he's not really my father. Like biologically, he's my dad. And I do have some good memories of dad, like teaching me to ride a bike, like teaching me how to type, like, you know what I mean? Some life skill stuff, taking me to church, that kind of thing. But as an adult into my teen years, I don't have any good memories of our interactions. So I just felt that he was almost trying to buy my love. And that accepting gifts from him was a falsehood of the relationship. That if you're not going to be an involved parent and you don't really care, essentially, I got really sick in my 20s and had to have a lot of chemotherapy and radiation. Is that when he didn't um, show up for those, major life events where I legitimately was on, um, I was really scared I was going to die, and really terrified of how my health was going to change my entire life. When he never showed up for that, I was I was pretty done with the relationship for sure at that point. Like, you're not going to show up for your child when she's this sick. I'm not going to participate.
Right. I feel you on that. Yeah, that it's a sad story for sure. I feel that with him when he passed, I was completely shocked. Just because he was so young, and it was also weird because and strange because I actually had spoken to him so recently before he passed, and um I just ended up blocking his number after our conversation. But um, it was weird because he just seemed fine when we talked. And it's super strange to me that he passed from diabetes. That was also shocking to me because he was like thin and not like, do you know what I mean? Like he wasn't like overweight or like I don't
Yeah.
understand how he got diabetes, and I also don't understand why he wasn't taking insulin because he had Medicare or whatever, so it would have
Well,
been like affordable. You know what I mean? Like it's not, I know insulin is really expensive, like, but
the detectives told me that when they found him at the wellness check, that there were medications all over the place. And they originally thought that he had perhaps committed suicide because there was just pills and stuff all over around his body, which I didn't want to share with you until the medical examiner made their final decision. But the PD in Boston, the detective I talked to, was kind of pushing that narrative really hard that they didn't understand why the ME took him and that they thought he just swallowed a bunch of pills. And I didn't want it because I know when one family member commits suicide, it often becomes a chain reaction throughout the family of there's more suicidal deaths. And I didn't want to trigger you in any way. And so I kind of
right,
had to hold that to myself. Um, because once again, I didn't want to put that burden on you of thinking that our father committed suicide. And that was really, really hard for me to keep that to myself and to try to just sit with that information. But the medical examiner, Mary, was like, no, something else happened here. So I can only think that he, knew that something was going on and was trying to, you know what I mean? Whatever he was doing, he was trying to possibly solve it, if that makes sense. And it could have been he just, because it was the day after Christmas, it could have, or well, he died on Christmas Day. It could have been that the pharmacies weren't open, or I'm not really sure. And we'll never get
right.
answers.
We'll never know. We'll never
No,
know. But it's yeah, it's weird. It worries me too because I'm like, I really, really don't want to get diabetes. And it worries me. I also don't want to get lupus either. So, lupus is absolutely a horrific experience.
yes,
It was very, very difficult for me to watch the deterioration over time. And technically, her technical diagnosis, our mom's technical diagnosis, is called mixed connective tissue disease, which is very rare. Sorry, that was really hard for me to say. And um, we are not even sure if that's really what she had or not. But
right.
at the end, the problem that she had was that she had to get blood every day because her body stopped making blood platelets. And that was very traumatic. It was very difficult to get her to the doctor every single day, 5 days a week to receive blood. And it took all day long. It would take all day because first in the morning, she would have to go to the lab and then wait for the lab results. And then she would have to go to the infusion center to get the infusions in the afternoon. And the infusion took about 2 to 3 hours. So it literally was just no way to live. And so it was very hard on me because I was like handling it really all on my own. And the people that were there to help were just not professionals. Because my mother was very difficult and she refused to hire a nurse. So she had hired some sketchy people to take care of her that just weren't doing a very good job. And I had to step in at some point, and it was a lot, especially on top of school and work. I really don't know how I juggled it all.
No, I don't either. I mean, I had to take a step back from dealing with her because our mother was very stubborn. And I tried to have a lot of sort of come to Jesus
such
talks with her.
Such
a Taurus. I kept having these conversations with her about, hey, like we really need to take care of these things. And this is what's being suggested that you do from, my more logical standpoint of, we need to get you into better specialists. We need to do this. We need to cut this out. I wanted mom to downsize and move into like a townhouse or condo that would have been cheaper for her, or to buy like a very small place and sort of start downsizing early. And she's very, very upset at me, to the point that she got violent with me. And that's when I really had to take a step back, because it was just, the conversation was going nowhere. And I always told her that if she wanted my help, that she really needed to start considering the long term instead of her short term satisfaction. That, if she moved to a smaller place and freed up more of her income or her assets, that we could hire professional help to take care of her, like professional nursing aides to take care of her 24/7. I even brought up, assisted living facilities that were very nice but they're very expensive.
Yeah.
And she clearly did not like that and said some extremely, extremely hurtful things to me in that process. That
I tried so hard to get a nurse or to get her an assisted living, and by the time that I finally got a nurse, I finally had a nurse hired, and she came to the house and she told me, you need to call 911. And I did. And then she was alive for one more week in the hospital. And eventually she went to hospice. She was only in hospice for like 12 hours and then she passed. It was so fast. And yeah, it's just crazy that she's so stubborn. After like I had been trying to get a nurse for 2 years, like she waited basically right up until the point that she died before she allowed one to come in the house. So it's pretty sad, but
it is.
Let's see. So was there ever a moment when it really hit you that they were both gone?
I mean, it was pretty immediate.
I think so for me too. I don't, I can't think of like a specific time that I was like, oh shit, both my parents are dead. Like, I don't know. I roll with the punches. I mean, we've been through so much trauma. It's no surprise to me after everything we've been through with our parents, our very complicated relationship that we had throughout the years, that it ended this way. And it's also strange. What's also strange to me about it is that dad died from diabetes because he wasn't medicated. And mom basically passed because she was not taking her medication, which was part of the reason that I was trying so hard to get a nurse to take care of her, because she was being very stubborn and she was not taking her medications as directed, or prescribed by her doctors. And
Yeah.
because of that, she succumbed to infections because she was not taking her antibiotics for her infections. So she got sepsis. And of course, when you have lupus, your immune system is compromised and it can't fight off infections. So you get infections that normal people don't get. It's sort of like what happens when you have HIV. Um, and so she had these infections that she actually caught from being in the hospital, because the last 2 years she was alive, she spent 12 months hospitalized,
Yeah.
leading up to her passing. And hospitals are just notorious for spreading bacteria and fungus to the patients. And normally, most people, when it happens to them, have healthy immune systems. So their immune systems just fight it off. But she didn't really have an immune system to do so. So um, it's really strange that they both passed kind of from not being on medications for their issues. I just think that's so weird. It's so weird. And the lesson that I learned from it is like, whenever a doctor prescribes you take something, take it exactly as prescribed. Like, follow the directions to the letter, and don't stop taking it early. Don't mess up your meds, y'all, because it's could be life or death.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've had to make peace with they made their own decisions, because you can't play that, well, shoulda, coulda, woulda game, right? Like I often find myself kind of falling back on that, like, well, what if mom did this? We could have had 10 more years. Or what if, you know what I mean? But that doesn't help. They're both adults. They both decided to ignore clear medical advice and not take care of themselves. And why they did this to themselves, I don't understand. I will never understand. I'm not them.
Right, me
But
either. I don't get it. Like,
yeah,
I have more of the mentality, I think, that our grandmother has, who raised us, um um about my health.
yes, absolutely.
um
Uh,
and so do you think grief has changed you as a person, or how has it changed you, if so?
yes. I really focus more on work. Like, I've really put most of my time and energy into work, because I feel I also don't use my real name at work. So I'm it's almost like playing a spy game. So I'm a different, it really feels that way, that I'm a different person at work, that I don't have to be Emily at work. I'm a different person there.
Right, it's
And
like
that,
you have an alter ego.
Yeah, no, legitimately, because, it's, I don't, so I've really put, instead of focusing more on my social life and my friendships and having fun, normally I'm very active socially. I have, a good friend group. I go out all the time. I go to festivals, concerts. I'm super active in the gym. I normally have a good, workout group I'm a part of. I do all this stuff. Do river cleanups pretty often. I go to city council meetings, all that sort of stuff. Excuse me. Um, but since our parents have died, my life has really become, I go to work and then I clean my house and I spend time with my dog. And that's just kind of become my little bubble of life, where some months I'm trying to do more overtime than I technically should be allowed to do. But my managers, I think in HR, can see that this is like the only thing that's providing me relief, because I'd rather be at work than sitting on my couch, ruminating.
Ruminating, that right? Exactly. That's what I was about to say. I was like, kind of finish your
Yeah,
sentence.
no, it's
Um,
fine.
yeah. I can't even tell you how weird it was after I like taking care of mom as she was dying and spending so much time. Like I was spending like 10 to 20 hours a week in the hospital with her every week for a year. And every time I went to work, I felt so good. I was like, I am so happy to be here. Like, I would tell my boss, Elias, I was like, I am so happy to be here today, because it just gave me like this sense of normalcy and stability.
Yep.
And it made me feel like, oh, like I'm back in the real world. Like, I'm not in this horror movie anymore. And I had and have like a really great relationship with my customers at where I work. So they really cheer me up, to be honest with you.
Yes.
So I love to see my regulars, and they really honestly help me a lot through it. And as strange as that sounds, but I always tell people I have 7 best friends. Um, and I've leaned into my friendships so hard. I spend numerous amounts of hours on the phone with my friends every week, and I I have really leaned on them a lot through the whole past year or whatever, however long it's been now. I'm not even sure. Since, let's see, dad was in Christmas Day 2024.
2025 or 2024. Yeah.
And then my mom passed July 16th, 2025.
Yes.
Right. Um, so what's up?
You and I are different that way. So instead of, like, you've really leaned into your friendships and your friends, I've really isolated myself from my friends, um, where I don't really reach out. I don't really talk to them. And I think maybe the difference there is a lot of my friends are very happily married, they have kids. And so when we hang out, a lot of that time is spent with their children. Um, and I feel somewhat of a responsibility towards my attitude and my emotional set around those children, because I do love them very dearly and I don't want to bring,
Negative energy.
yeah, around the kids and have people be like, Auntie M, why are you so sad? And I don't want it to force this, especially with the really little ones, of like, oh, I'm sad because my mommy died. Like, I don't feel like that's really maybe it is an appropriate conversation, but I feel like that's a conversation parents should have with the children, not just like my mom's weird friend that brings me
Right.
gifts, you know what I mean, and plays with me, because I don't. So that's hard. And then
Yeah.
also, you
Some of
know,
my friends have kids, but not all of them.
yeah,
Most of my friends are gay men, so
yeah, there's a difference there.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and then also the cultural difference, like my friends want to go out and go drinking and they want to go party and they want to go do all these things, like mommy's night out sort of stuff or whatever it is. And I've really like taken advice and don't really drink anymore. I don't really do any of that so that I could really focus in a sober mindset and really work through my pain in a healthy way and not because I was so afraid that I would just drown myself and drown out my emotions in an unhealthy way so that I didn't have to feel
Mhm.
them. Because that quick escape, is so tempting versus having to actually face fear, face the grief, face the devastation, face anguish, face on in full sobriety. And so,
Right.
you know, it's been a change in priorities. And maybe that is also making me a healthier person in the long run. I think about that like, oh, there's so many benefits to, you're not spending as much money, you're not, going out, and I miss that life a lot. But at the same time, I'm sort of grateful for the silence. That
Mhm.
makes sense. Like
Yeah, it does. No, that makes sense to me. I can understand that. Yeah. I um I think that um that makes perfect sense. And I feel with me, I've definitely been working on myself a lot, just like emotionally, I guess. Um, but it's weird. Like when our dad died, I never even cried over it. Um, I was like, I just felt nothing. Of course, when my mother passed, I was absolutely devastated because I was very close with her. Um, but I feel like with my mom, I started grieving long before she passed because I knew it was coming because she was so ill. So I cried more in the hospital before she died than I did after she died. Um,
Yeah,
but
I would think that's true for me too, because I would always get the call, you know. Um, Normally our grandmother would immediately call me when she found out and be like, your mom's in Seton. They're saying it's not looking good. Please be kind to yourself today, sort of stuff. And it almost, I grieved her death so hard before she died that once she did actually die, there was almost nothing left in that pot to pull from, if that makes sense. Like I'd
yeah,
already,
same. I just felt completely drained.
yeah, yeah.
um, so, how did losing our parents affect how you see our relationship as siblings?
Um,
And then I promise we'll get to news.
okay. Um, well, I'm definitely grateful for you. I mean, and it's nice. I mean, I know you don't want the burden of handling mom's stuff. I know I handled all of dad's stuff. Um,
Right. And we didn't even get to the 2/3 of Texans die without wills. That um, is something that is according to our attorney. And I looked it up and I couldn't find any article to verify that it's not a statistic. However, I believe that our attorney, as an estate attorney, would know that information correctly. I did find that 2/3 of Americans die without wills,
Right.
which is mind-boggling. And
neither parent had a will when they died. So
right.
if we can urge audience listeners to please write a will, please do it. I beg of you.
Right. And it only costs like $250 and you can do it online.
Yeah.
It's literally so easy because this whole process of dealing with the assets and the estate is hell on earth. When you pass without a will, it puts your loved ones through such a difficult road ahead that they have to handle after you pass.
Yeah. And
it's just kind of outrageous.
I know some of the people that I supervise at work have, and some of my coworkers have mentioned to me, well, I'm glad my family doesn't really have anything, And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, you need to have the hard conversations with your parents now, even if they're not leaving you a lot, what you seem like a lot, right? Your mom or dad owns houses, cars, anything. You need to have those life insurance. You need to have those hard conversations with your parents, and the sooner the better, to try to figure out what you're going to do when they do eventually pass. That they need to have that will in place. They do need to say, this is what I want done with these things. Because we don't really have any idea of what mom or dad really truly would have wanted, in a sense. And it does create like a big, giant legal mess that drags out for months and months and months in the court system. And it's very, very expensive, as you and I both know now.
Right. And you have to go through this process called probate court, which is what I've been doing for my mom. So my sister handled my dad's estate, which was small. And then I'm basically the administrator of my mom's estate, which is very complex. So, I mean, it's not like she was like super, super rich, but she has a lot of different complex like assets, I would say. And it's just nonstop. Like every week I'm spending like 10 hours like dealing with the attorneys and doing this and that for the estate. I mean, it's just something comes up every week. There's another thing that I have to do. So take care of it. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to go through. And
just figuring out how many different bank accounts she had was like, wow. Should we call every single bank on planet Earth to figure out if she had an account with them? Like,
right. I know.
How do we get this information? Because, I know you want to do everything, the correct way, and I want everything to be done the correct way. And it's just so maddening to try to figure it all out, especially since I feel like neither one of us outside of the lawyers has really any real support. Obviously our families love us, and, they're like, if there's anything I can do, let me know. but they don't have any information for us that would actually be useful, really. You know, like they can't be like, oh, yeah, your mom also had an account at Bank of Texas, or your mom, had a security deposit box at Chase. And it's like, so it's just kind of this uh, Easter egg hunt of sadness trying to
Right.
figure this all out. It's just like, oh, okay. So today we
It's
found out that she had an account here that she opened in 1998 and never closed. And it's like, great, cool, awesome.
right. And what I'm dealing with now, regarding one of her accounts is like insane. It's been the lawyers and I have been hunting for information about this LLC for like a month now. And we've had to contact like 3 different other attorneys regarding it. And it's still not resolved. And it's just dragging everything out longer and longer and longer. And I just feel like the sooner it gets wrapped up, the sooner I'm going to be able to move on. Because the longer that this drags out, the more I just feel like I can't, it's not over yet.
Yeah, I know people have said to me personally that, oh, didn't you feel a lot of closure when you guys like had the funeral and buried your mom? And I keep reiterating that I'm not going to have full closure until everything's taken care of. Um, so it's almost compounding the grief because I feel like I can't fully let go, if that makes sense. And I'm still holding on to, and it's not, I'm very grateful and I have a ton of gratitude for everything mom's leaving us, right? Like I'm very, very, very grateful. But at the same time, the longer and longer this drags out, the more emotionally exhausted I am because I really want to be able to put this book on the shelf. If that's like an analogy that makes sense to everyone, like I want to finish that final chapter and have it done. Sort of like, like, oh, it's like somebody saying, like, oh, you applied to all your colleges. Don't you feel great? And it's like, no, I haven't been accepted to college or university yet. And I'm not going to feel firm in my position until it's done.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I love that. That's a great analogy. I think that's sums it up perfectly about how I feel about dealing with the estate. And I still just find it mind boggling that 2/3 of people die without wills. It just blows my mind. I always thought that that was just something that everybody did. And apparently most people don't, which is just so strange to me. But
Me too.
let's get to some news. Let's wrap up this
Yes.
conversation. I know that was like really tough, so thank you for bearing with me.
You're
And
welcome.
I think that I hope that when people hear our story, that it like resonates or helps in some way with whatever they're going through.
Oh, and if I can
Yeah.
urge listeners, if you can please consider donating blood. Our mother really, really struggled being able to find blood. There's been a worldwide blood donation shortage since COVID. And it was really, really difficult to find her. My brother and I are not the same blood type as our mother, so we could not give her blood. She was O negative universal donor. So I urge of you, if there is a kindness that you could do for the rest of humanity to save and to help other people, you please consider donating blood? That would be a wonderful, beautiful thing.
Right. That's definitely something that is like really important. I actually, speaking of the news, just heard a story reported on KUT, which is Austin's local NPR station, that there's currently was a blood shortage here in Austin due to the recent winter storm. That happened a couple weeks ago, and so I personally I have to donate blood because we're Irish and I have the Irish curse, which is hemochromatosis, which is the opposite of anemia for those of you who don't know what it is. So basically it means that my iron is super, super, super high. And it's really bad for you. And the cure for it is to donate blood, basically. So I have to donate blood like a couple times a year. And it's super easy and it just makes you feel great about yourself. So I highly recommend doing it to anyone that's listening.
Yes, please go donate. Save a life.
All right, so let's get to the news packet. Now, I really don't want to talk about this today, but I feel like I have to bring up the breaking news that came out this morning. I don't know if you saw it, I'm sure you did, but today, right before we started recording, about 52 minutes before we started recording, it was reported that the United States and a coalition with Israel attacked Iran. I just feel so frightened by this news.
Yeah. I
Did
mean,
you hear about this yet?
yeah, I did. I got an
Yeah.
AP alert on my watch. I actually haven't been wearing my Apple Watch all morning because I got tired of all the constant news alerts I was getting about this situation, because I know Iran has already started counterattacks towards U.S. military bases and other countries that they are specifically targeting. It's extremely sad. And I believe Iranians deserve peace. I believe they deserve justice. I believe they
Right.
deserve democracy, right? I feel
I
terrible
don't
for the women there and the girls.
I don't, and I feel terrible for the LGBT people there.
Oh, yeah, that too. That's the
And
terrible situation.
I have a pen pal who's gay that lives in Iran. And I haven't talked to him yet today, but I'm sure he's very upset. He's in the military there. So he was drafted. So,
It's heartbreaking.
yeah, it's going to be really difficult for him because it's something that he doesn't even want to be in or do. And I think it's so destabilizing, and it's absolutely ridiculous that Trump has done this without the authorization of Congress. I just totally think that's apparent. It's against our values as Americans, and it's just a mess.
It is.
But anyway, I had to mention that just because it's the biggest story today. And
and I'm not shocked, because obviously there's been rumblings that he was going to do this for a while. And I feel like his support has been waning, and he sees this as a way to win back the military industrial complex sort of industry, right? Because I know people have been turning away from him, and I also feel like this is a huge way for him to distract from the Epstein files, because the Clintons testified yesterday.
right, I was going to bring that up too. Actually, I forgot to put it in the news packet though. But I didn't watch the videos. I just read some transcripts. I scanned over it a little bit from the testimony. And it was interesting. But I think it's just our
Sorry if
president.
you can hear Bigfoot. He's being fussy. My
Oh,
dog.
it's okay. I can't hear him. I can't believe that my cats are being so good. I'm very happy about that right now. I hope I didn't just jinx it.
Right.
So let's talk about, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about this Ghislaine Maxwell thing. Did you see
Ghislaine. Yeah.
Ghislaine? Oh, is that how you say it? Ghislaine? I'm so
Ghislaine,
dumb.
I think.
Ghislaine? Is it Ghislaine?
I think it's Ghislaine.
Ghislaine makes more sense. Did you see the photos of her nose? That is my question.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all of this Epstein stuff stinks to high heaven. And I don't care which party line you stand on. You should have the moral and ethical fortitude to know that trafficking young women for sex is a bad deal, right? It's not moral, it's not ethical. There is no religion that I know of, like mainstream religion, from Christian to Buddhist to Islam to Judaism to whatever you want to zit, Hinduism, that says that that's an okay thing to do. So and I'm disgusted by it, right? Like I find it all extremely disgusting. And I don't know why the government is protecting the men and women that were perpetrators in this. Um, you know, and people will say, MAGA people will say, oh, well, you want to convict Trump because you don't like him. That's the only reason that you think all these Republicans should be brought forward. And, how would you feel about, a Democrat? And I'm like, I think they should all, if you have been hurting young women and children, you need to go to jail. Like, you need
Right.
to be convicted of your crimes. I don't care what your party line is. I don't care if you don't have a party, if you're on neither side of the aisle. If you do something so amoral, so illegal, you need to go to jail. And I don't know how her nose randomly changed so much. I
I
mean,
don't
that's just
understand the thing with
fishy.
the nose. It's so sketchy. So the photo that came out from Quebec of the look-alike, that has been debunked, or debunked rather. I don't know if you saw that photo too, but the woman
Yeah.
kind of looks like her, and that has been totally debunked. However, what I still don't have any explanation for, and I don't understand, is the photo of her nose. Like, did she get plastic surgery? Like, I'm just so confused. Like, I don't understand how someone's nose changes that much without a nose job. Like, I just don't get it.
I don't either.
It's
I
so
don't really.
sketchy. It's so sketchy.
It's super. This whole thing, like I said, stinks to high heaven, right? Like, everything seems like a cover up in this, and who they're covering up for, whoever it is, must be extremely wealthy and extremely powerful, and they don't want the rest of us to know who these people are. But I don't care how much power, money, or influence you have or how important you are. You should have to face justice at the end of the day, right? Like, if you do something so abhorrent, you should face justice. This isn't like some white collar tax fraud, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this lady lied on her taxes for her corporation and embezzled billions of dollars. Like, yes, you should face jail time for that too. But this is beyond that. It's moral bankruptcy is what we're seeing.
Yeah, it says several years in prison, including the absence of high-end professional grooming, beauty treatments, and potentially weight changes, can significantly alter a person's facial structure, including the nose. But I don't know about that. I mean, maybe, I guess. I usually don't subscribe to conspiracy theories or believe in them, but this one has just been driving me crazy because I keep looking at the photos. And if you're listening, just Google her name with the word nose next to it, and you can find the photos. It's bizarre. Like, it's just bizarre. And I don't know what to say about it. I mean, everything is so sketchy with this whole thing. I wouldn't be surprised if she has a body double and escape from prison. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
No, me either.
But it's just bizarre. I can't even. So let's talk about Snooki. Did you hear about Snooki?
Yeah, I think she was very brave to come out with her cervical cancer diagnosis. I think that's something that I know going and getting your annual exams as a woman is not fun. It feels like some sort of medieval torture because women's health is ignored. Healthcare wasn't designed for women. I know the man that really started doing, I guess, the father of gynecology, I guess we could call him, was a horrible man who basically tortured Black female inmates here in America to try to figure out women's sexual reproductive health. And that's what everything's based off of is his research, which, I mean, I wouldn't, akin to torture, was torture for the inmates. I don't want to make it seem like he was a good guy because he was not a good guy, or what he did was right or just or moral or ethical. But more women should feel empowered to come out and talk about this. And I know a lot of people feel like, well, I got the HPV vaccination, I'm covered, but that only covers the most popular strains of HPV. It doesn't.
Oh God, I need that vaccine. I never got it.
Yeah.
Mom never gave it to me or had me get it. And at the time when it came out, I was 13, which is the age that they were recommending it, but they were only giving it to girls. And then later, as an adult, they approved it for men. And at first the FDA approved it for up to age 28, I think. And I was like 29 when I asked about it.
Yeah.
But I heard now, I think it's up to age 45 that you can get it.
Yes. So they've extended the age range. Although I will say, I personally went years ago to a CVS, and I'm not going to name and shame which location, and tried to get the vaccine, and the pharmacist refused to give it to me, even though they extended the age range to be able to get it. The pharmacist kind of slut shamed me. I don't have a better word about wanting to get the vaccine, and made me feel really terrible about wanting to get it.
That's ridiculous. That's horrible.
Really ridiculous and horrible. I cried in my car afterwards because I was just so frustrated about trying to get, something that could prevent cancer, and something that could, save my life potentially and thousands of dollars, and being made to feel that I was somehow amoral for wanting to do this to protect myself. So I think she's really brave to talk about this, and I'm hoping.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Okay.
I actually personally, I have had trouble finding a provider that can do it. Like, I've asked a couple doctors for it and they're like, oh, we don't have it. And I don't think my pharmacy carries it. So, which is really weird. But I
Yeah.
don't know. So I don't even know like how you find it. Like it seems like it's not like that readily available for some reason, but maybe it's better now because I tried like a couple years ago to get it and I just kind of gave up, but I really should get it. I mean, I'm very proactive about my health. I have all the vaccines, honey. I was
Yeah.
one
No,
of
I
the
know.
first 10,000 people in the United States to get the COVID vaccine.
No, I know.
So which is crazy to me. I don't know how I found it. I had to drive to a small town called Marlin, Texas. It's
Okay.
a beautiful, beautiful town. It's gorgeous land. It's out near it's east of Waco. It's near that Czech town.
Yeah.
What's it called? West?
Yeah. West Texas, where the Czech Slop and Slovaks is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Delicious if you guys have never gotten a kolache from either or.
right. We love kolaches here in Texas, in Central Texas. And um, it's just beautiful land out there. It's really pretty. It's gorgeous.
Just hold on one second. I gotta let the dog outside. He's losing his mind. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, y'all. He's just being fussy because it's beautiful outside and he wants to go play.
Oh, no worries. I can, we're not live on the
Yeah,
air,
we can
so
edit it.
we can edit it. So I wanted to talk about the Tyra Banks thing and the whole documentary, but I did not have time to watch it. And I just looked over some articles about it. I put one from People in the news packet. I don't know if you had time to read it, but
Well, I watched the documentary.
okay,
So,
you did.
mhm.
What did you think about it? I mean, I heard details from it about how like the plus size model was 5'10" and only weighed 115 pounds and she was weight shamed and
Yeah,
among
and
other things.
one of the girls, they turned the storyline into that she cheated on her boyfriend when she was actually sexually assaulted and
Right.
raped.
I heard about that. I heard about
And
that.
then they
And
filmed
it
it.
happened on film. Yeah.
Yeah. And Tyra the whole time is just truly non-apologetic about any of it. And she comes across as almost sociopathic. Like she just doesn't, or psychopathic, I don't know, Patrick Bateman style. She just doesn't really take into account the negativity that she was feeding into young women and young men at that time period about our looks and how unhealthy it was. And then I know that most of the women from the show that were interviewed, you know, their modeling contracts and things didn't really go anywhere. So it wasn't like these women really got anything out of it except for the constant abuse. And then also, you know, that it was extremely racially insensitive, the whole thing. You know, they did blackface and all these crazy challenges, which I know people were like at the time. And I'm like, no, even when it was airing, it was like, I don't think that's right. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It wasn't too long ago. What, 20 years
Yeah.
ago? Wasn't
Yeah.
too long ago.
But
It was
even in the,
uncomfortable. That episode was
yes,
very, very uncomfortable.
yes. And so, um, I mean, I think it just makes us look at how we treat, you know, at least how we've treated women and what we are preaching towards teenage girls and to young women and to young men, because I know it affects men too and to young boys. You know, this ideal that thinness that being as thin as you possibly can is part of your worth, which I don't think is very healthy. It's not a healthy standard. It's not healthy to tell these beautiful women that are already shockingly, not shocking. Well, I mean, however you want to see it, that are very, very thin and svelte, that they are overweight, that they are fat, that they are not good enough. And I don't think that's the way we should be talking to the general populace or just in general to women, because our bodies and the way we look are not our worth, right? Like being
Right.
healthy is important, right? Like taking care of yourself is important, and yes, we're all trying, I think, in the large part to eat better, to do better, to take care of ourselves. But really, you're beautiful because of what's in your soul, or who you are, should, I think, be the focus instead of how sexy are you to men. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yes, I do. And I just feel, and then there's also skinny shaming. I thought on the flip side of it, as a guy, as a gay man, there's like this shame about like not going to the gym and not having muscles and whatnot. Um,
Yes,
so it goes both ways and it's
it
really
does.
fucked up. The whole thing is fucked up. I
It, it's
just think that,
it's toxic.
yeah, it's very toxic. And it seems like Tyra is kind of doubling down um, about it.
Yes.
I mean, saying, I didn't produce anything and
Oh,
um,
she just had excuses for everything, and just, sort of faux apologies, and she didn't really seem truly sorry for anything she did or have any remorse for her actions. There's a lot of language used of, well, that was, 20 years ago. We know better now. And it's like, no, you knew better then. You just wanted to make ratings. So the more absurd you could make it and the more ostentatious it was, the higher the ratings you were going to get and the more people you were going to get to view that content. And what's, always concerning to me is I see those same trends, that were so devastating to my generation of girls and young women reiterated back to us again today, with sort of this Ozempic, Wegovy, which I, no shame if you are on the
Wegovy, yeah.
the GLP-1s, right? If you need it and it is saving your life, it is helping you, it is getting you to a healthier place, more power to you, right? Like there is no shame in taking it. That is not the conversation I'm having. The conversation I'm trying to have is that once again, we're viewing women's worth into what is in, and men into what is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
your worth
so
is
many
based off of how you look.
people, so many people who are taking the GLP-1s don't need them. I mean, have you seen pictures of Kelly Osbourne recently?
Oh, I mean, it's
She
shocking.
she looks so gaunt. It's terrible, really.
And I know
The
she's grieving her father. And I know, like, for
right.
instance, I've lost a lot of weight through grief. It's part of the way grief has manifested in my life. So I have a really hard time eating, to the point where I've had to buy, almost a whole new wardrobe of clothes, which is not something I want to do, and I'm quite upset about all of it. But I'm trying to give myself grace. I'm trying to really work on being healthier and trying to eat more, which has been a struggle for me. And that's one of the main ways it's manifested in my life. So I can't speak for her. But I don't, I wish the conversation was more about being healthy and being empowered and loving yourself for who you are. We're all different. Our biodiversity is different. Everybody's going to get what you get, right? You can't change genetically if you have big hips or slim hips or big shoulders or little shoulders, like, or, a strong jaw or not a jaw or whatever, a weak jaw. Um, but I feel like we should really stop emphasizing the premier focus of judgment on how you physically look, and instead focus it on your actions and who you are as a person.
Right. Your good works.
Yeah, it's
value are more valuable than, yes. And I agree completely.
it is.
It's just
You
so
are
screwed
enough.
up. In the early 2000s, especially, were super tough with weight. Maybe not as bad as the 90s, but it's still pretty, I think, really tough, really, really tough. I definitely think things have improved since then.
Yeah.
With the whole body positivity movement and
right. But the pendulum is starting to swing the other way
again. Yeah.
Yeah. And those trends are coming back. I think it was last year on TikTok, teenage boys started making fun of girls for the way their arms looked when they were held down at their sides, and fat shaming teenage girls for their arms, kind of pancaking out a little bit when they were down on their sides, which is totally normal and healthy. And most of these women that I saw these young ladies that were being disparaged by these young men were very thin and svelte and totally healthy looking and totally normal looking. And I just wish we would stop finding a way to bully others based off of normal things, because it just seems like in every sort of decade or every couple years, there seems to be a new thing, not just for women. I know it happens to men too, but as a woman, I can only talk from my own perspective, that there's a new thing that society wants to pick on us for, whether it's if you have a thigh gap or not, or you have violin or harp hips or whatever it's called, or whether you have, all these different things. And it's just a way to bully others for the way they are naturally built, instead of embracing and celebrating our biodiversity.
Yes, absolutely.
And I wish we would more, honestly, I wish we would put some of these Olympic athletes up on more of a pedestal of this is the height of humanity. And you look through Olympians and there's tons of biodiversity between men and women within that, right? That this is peak performance, right?
Right. All different
this is
sports.
the healthiest. Yeah. In all different
they all look, they're all different, right?
Sizes, shapes, physiques, heights,
And I wanted to mention the Olympics briefly.
But they're very, very healthy.
Right.
Well, good segue.
Yes, I wanted to talk about Barbra Streisand's tribute to Alyssa Liu. Did you see that?
No, I didn't, but go,
Okay, so
Alyssa, go.
it's a BuzzFeed article in the news packet, and basically it's pretty bad. So Barbara Streisand wrote a really nice tribute to Alyssa on Instagram, but she
Okay.
made some racially insensitive remarks.
Oh.
She wrote in her tribute, I heard that she is half Chinese. My second family in Brooklyn that lived above us was a Chinese family called the Choys. I worked in their Chinese restaurant since I was 12 years old and also babysat for their children. She was like a second mother to me. And everyone is flipping out about it. What do you think? Do you think that's racially insensitive? Um, I I don't know. Like, how old is Barbara Streisand?
I just don't know why. I mean, first and foremost, yeah, she is definitely from like a much older generation. Um, which, sometimes we got to give those grandmas and grandpas some grace because, they were raised in very different times. Um, but I don't know why race has to be part of the conversation.
Right.
Alyssa's one of the greatest
why
skaters.
even bring it up at all? It's just weird. And then to be like, oh, I had a
Exactly.
Chinese family that I loved that lived above me. I mean, it's just so random. It's also very Barbara
Right.
to me.
It's like being like, no, I have a black friend after you say something racially insensitive and acting like because you know a black person that
Exactly.
you're allowed to say horrible things. And I know Barbara was probably saying, right, she was saying nice things, but it's still awkward. And I don't know why we're focusing on Alyssa's ethnicity instead of the fact that she did something absolutely beautiful, absolutely amazing, because her skating performance was
It
so filled
was
with joy.
so
It was
good.
so beautiful.
It was so
And I know
good.
she
And
struggled, and it was a great comeback.
the best part of her performances for me personally were her music choices. And the reason that Barbara made the post is because in 2019, Alyssa did a performance to one of Barbara's songs. But I think it was just amazing. She blew me away. I sadly missed most of the Olympics because I've been so busy with work and school, but I was able to watch the women's figure skating. I haven't gotten around to the men's yet. I have it lined up in my Peacock to watch later. But I love figure skating. I've never ice skated before, so I probably would be really bad at it. Yeah, I never have. I've always wanted to.
That's one of the big differences in our childhood because, Dad being a New Englander used to take me ice skating all the time. I was really good at it as a little girl, and I used to beg and beg for lessons. And of course, like our parents were on like a limited income for what they made. And so they were just like, no, we can't afford one more activity for you. But Dad would take me ice skating pretty often at North Cross Mall.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, I think that ice skating lessons are really expensive. Like I think they're like more than normal sports.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was more expensive.
Not that it's not a normal sport, but just
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, and I was already doing like ballet and horseback riding. So I think Mom and Dad were like, girl, you are already doing two really, really expensive things. And I was doing horseback riding with family friends at like a huge discount. But I think they were kind of like, you're at your limit of what we're going to be willing to provide for you. But I did really enjoy. You should try it. It's super fun.
I want to. I love that they kept that ice skating rink at North Cross Mall, by the way, because North Cross Mall, it used to be a mall here in Austin that was really neat. It was a very small mall, but it had some really nice stores, and it was open up until what, like 15 years ago. And then they tore it down and turned it into a freaking Walmart, which the whole neighborhood was so against, and they fought and fought and fought Walmart, and tried to have it not built and tried to save them all. And in the process of that, they lost to Walmart, but they were able to save the ice skating rink that was in the center of the mall, which is really cool. Not many malls are built like that, with an ice skating rink in the middle of the mall. I miss North Cross Mall all the time. I really liked that mall a lot. It was awesome. Austin has lost a lot of malls.
Yeah. Well, and it was nice to have a shopping area that was really more central to the city. Because the two main sort of shopping mall areas in Austin, or I guess three if you consider the Arboretum, are really spread out north, south, west. So if you live centrally, there's not a whole lot of options on where to go.
Yeah, because there used to be both North Cross Mall and Highland Mall in Central Austin, and they both closed. They happened to turn Highland Mall into a community college campus where I went to school for 2 years. And it's actually awesome. It's a beautiful, beautiful campus. I really loved it. But all right, so moving on. Did you see this story from the New York Post? Hold on, my computer just freaked out. Oh no. Here we go. North Carolina mom of 3 who vanished 24 years ago is found alive and well. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
now,
I did.
This story is living a new life. She's left 2 decades ago, left her family Christmas shopping, disappeared when she was Christmas shopping in December 2001 when she was 38 years old, and never returned home. Multiple agencies, including the FBI, searched for the mother of 3 for countless hours and pursued multiple investigative leads. Now, however many years, 24 years later, sorry, I'm bad at math. She was found alive and well at an undisclosed location in North Carolina after officers received a tip. Her current whereabouts will not be disclosed, though her family has been notified that she has been located. And it's just crazy to me. Like, what was her motive? I mean, we don't know what her motive was, but she basically just abandoned her family and went and started a whole new life with a whole new identity.
I mean, it's technically not illegal to fake your own death as long as you don't flub over the IRS. I learned that. But I mean,
wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, as long as you pay the IRS what you owe them, allegedly faking your own death, as long as you don't waste like police and investigators' time and you pay the IRS, is totally legal to do. At least this is the information I learned.
Well, I hope we're not giving anyone any ideas.
Right. Well, I mean, or maybe you need that idea. But we don't know. So, like, I don't know if she was fleeing domestic violence, if she was having a mental health crisis. Like, we don't know. But I can say I feel very poorly about, this must have affected her children greatly. Losing mom. We know losing mom doesn't feel good. So
I found
and never getting answers
surprising was that the kids' response was that they're so happy that she's alive and well, and they said that they're ecstatic about it. And I'm kind of surprised that they had that reaction. I feel like I would be so pissed off.
I would be so angry. I would be so
Right.
angry too.
But
I'd be like,
the
oh,
kids seem like they're so happy about it, and that she's alive and has been found. And I just don't think I would have had that reaction. I think I would have freaked out and been super angry and upset. I mean, if our mom had done that to us, do you think you would have ever talked to her again after she was found?
oh, absolutely not. Absolutely
Yeah,
not. I'd have been like, no, goodbye.
I don't think I would either. I mean, it's crazy. She just vanished, and the fact that she managed to pull it off for 24 years is just mind-boggling to me.
I mean, master class and deception, I guess.
Yeah,
Witness protection, take notes.
that's very true. That's very, very true. So let's move on to the Senate race in Texas, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
I just wanted to talk about the Senate race because it's the most hotly contested Senate race in the country right now, right here in our home state. And we have two candidates running, James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett has more name recognition nationwide than James Tallarico does because she's in Congress and she spoke at the DNC, which is kind of was her introduction to the public of the US. However, I think a lot of Texans know who James Tallarico is. I think he has name recognition here, just not outside of Texas. A lot of people that have been talking about the race from out of state think that Crockett is a shoe-in because she has more name recognition than him. But I'm like, y'all don't know him because you're not from here. You know?
Yeah. Well, and his episode of Colbert, he recorded an episode on Stephen Colbert's show, and this the network pulled it and didn't allow it to air, and then it became like the most, I think, YouTube aired watched episode ever for the show.
Right.
Because
Yes, they posted it on YouTube because either the network said that it didn't comply with the FCC's rules for fair time.
yes.
Right.
However, I think he's a real winner. Like, I just do. I think he's a breath of fresh air. I think he's not been so entrenched, excuse me, in the name and shame sort of politics that we've been in for so long that he feels like something new to voters. And I find his approach to be very welcoming.
Right. I love him. I voted for him. I like Jasmine Crockett as well. I just don't think that she has a good shot of winning in the general election. And
No, I don't either.
there's a rhetoric that's going around that is due to racism. And I just want to say that there are many different reasons why someone would choose one candidate over another. And just because you don't vote for a candidate that's Black, that does not make you a racist person. I don't know who needs to hear that, but I just wanted to make that statement today.
We have to vote for the person that we think is our best option. And I respect Representative Crockett a lot. I respect her work. I think she is undoubtedly fearsome. And she does a really, really great job for our state. I really do. I think she's fantastic. However, I think James, Mr. Tellerico, can sway voters who are non-Democrats. more effectively.
And here in Texas, about 12 to 15% of voters are independents. And the independents in Texas have a long history of leaning to the right. They're moderates, but they generally vote for Republicans. There are actually more Democrats than Republicans in Texas. But the reason why Republicans have such a stronghold in the state for so long is because the independent voters in Texas continue to vote for them over and over and over again.
Well, that and the gerrymandering.
Right. And the gerrymandering, of course, as well. Texas is truly a swing state. And it is so gerrymandered that we don't have equal representation.
No,
here.
we don't.
Yeah.
But it's not that I don't think that she would do a good job. It's just that I don't think she's going to be able to sway those sort of Bubba voters that live in rural areas, that she's going to be able to convince them. I don't think she's going to be able to convince white, normally Republican voting 50 to 60-year-old males to her side, where I find that James's very Christian approach to politics will be able to resonate with some of these voters. Is that something I've noticed?
Especially very religious people. And there's lots and lots of very religious people in our state.
Yes. And I think it has a lot less to do. I mean, I'm not saying that race isn't part of this equation, because it definitely is for the other side of the aisle, right? But I think it's much less about racism, and it's much more about her being so entrenched in sort of the Democratic Party that the voters are going to see her as part of that Democratic establishment, right? Those people
right
that had
exactly
the F Brandon signs and all this stuff about Biden and just hate Democrats with a wholehearted passion, see her as part of the big machine already, right? Whereas he's something new and he hasn't been in the game as long. And therefore, I think you can kind of present him in a different way than you can present her.
Right. I mean, he has been in office, I think, for 8 years, but as a state senator, if I'm not mistaken. And I've loved him since he was very first elected. I think it's amazing that he's an eighth generation Texan. Emily and I are seventh generation Austinites, and he is an eighth generation Austinite. And I just think that counts for a lot here. The history. So did you see the Atlantic article about the reporter that was kicked out of Jasmine Crockett's rally in Lubbock?
Yes, I did. And I've read deeply into it that Mrs. Crockett's statements were not, were not fully reported on, and that she has a problem with this reporter because they're extremely biased and they write lies about her and all this sort of things. But once again, it's more fuel to the fire for the other side.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Working against a lot, being female. I know she's already working against a lot, already being a woman and already being, obviously a minority, being Black. Like, those are two things that, like, she's having to overcome, those stigmas and those preconceived, notions that people have about race and gender in our country, which are wrong and should not really be part of the conversation. What should be part of the conversation is, the ethics, the work you do, morals, you know what I mean? Like who you are and what you stand for, and can you do a good job, right? That should be the conversation, not the color of your skin or your gender or your non-gender or whatever. Like that shouldn't matter, right? It should be
right.
But unfortunately,
it's
we
identity
have to
politics.
live in reality,
right?
But I think Democrats need to live in a world of reality where we know we're not practicing best practices, right? We know that that's going to become a stickler of an issue for, sadly to say, a large majority of voters. And I feel like Democrats then start infighting with themselves and playing the name and shame game of, oh, you didn't vote for her because of XYZ reasons, instead of being like, it's not that we didn't vote for her, it's that the other side isn't going to vote for her because of these reasons. And obviously, we are facing the fascist takeover of America, and something serious needs to be done about it, right? Instead of Democrats infighting with themselves, right?
Right. That's what drives me absolutely up the wall. I cannot stand it when moderates and the far left get into it with each other. That drives me insane. I'm like, this is not a time to fight with one another.
Yeah. We really need to get behind
it's just
the same
not the
messaging.
Time. There needs to be, right. We need a coalition that is strong, very strong, strong as fuck. And
yeah, because Republicans have been so good
broken
at
apart.
whipping that vote.
Right. And separating,
getting their constituents to vote Republican, to get behind one candidate and vote, and this is the candidate we want, and this is who we're voting for, and this is why we're voting for them, and our party is going to win regardless of what anybody thinks or says. You're going to vote for them, right? Republicans have done a really good job with the messaging. They've done a really good job at whipping those votes. For years. And the Democrats keep falling apart at, the 50-yard line because it becomes a bunch of infighting instead of being able to say, well, even though this isn't the candidate I would necessarily want, I'm going to vote for them because at least they're part of the messaging and the morals and the ethics and what I need to have happen.
Right.
So,
there's so many people on the far left that would refuse to vote for president because they didn't get the candidate that they wanted, and vice versa. And that attitude needs to stop. That is absolutely abhorrent. Like, I am voting blue no matter who it is.
Exactly. And that needs to be more of the messaging, and we need to have more clear leadership in the Democratic Party where, it's like, instead of getting, your perfect slice of cake, you're getting part of that cake at the very least. And that needs to be part of the conversation is, we can get these people voted in, we can get them elected, but we have to do it together.
Yes. And yes, it's just funny, the whole thing with the lady, the reporter getting kicked out of the rally and other things that have happened so far on the campaign trail. I think Jasmine's campaign has been kind of messy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, I've heard from friends that sit in the middle, because I have friends on all sides of the aisle. But I've had friends that sit in the middle that are very turned off by Miss Crockett, because they're like, what are these ads? It looks like, something that she shot for Instagram. She seems like an influencer. She doesn't seem real. And it's just like, we really need to know our base better, right? We really
Right.
need to focus on what has the most mass appeal for the base, not what has the most mass appeal for the candidate. Because we're not trying to win the votes from, in this particular one, we're not trying to win votes from California, New York, Colorado, or anywhere else. We're trying to win the votes here in Texas.
In Texas, right. And people
Yeah.
from out of state don't understand our electorate at all. They're like, the comments from out of state people that I'm reading online about this election are so off base. They're so freaking wrong. It's just almost like embarrassing to read it, because I'm just like, wow, you just don't understand Texas, do you?
Yeah.
And it just looks so bad. She said, at the rally, the security guard said, Elaine from the Atlantic, white girl with a hat and a notepad. She's interviewing people in the crowd. She's a top-notch hater and will spin. She needs to leave. I just told her to get her bag and go. That's from her team. And I just think that just looks so bad that was said to a reporter. It's a really bad gaffe.
Well, and it just gives Republicans more fuel. That's what I'm going to say is, whether or not, and I know Trump has called reporters Miss Piggy and all sorts of disgusting things, but the problem is it gives Republicans more fuel to pour on the fire. And it also, for some Democrats, it's not a good look, because we're supposed to be, better behaving than the Republicans, which is a whole other side of this discussion about, we can't fight dirty like the Republicans, you can't insult people, you can't whatever, right? Which I wish we would get back more to egalitarian politics in the first place, but obviously we've lost that in the last 10 years. Like that is a pipe dream if you think things are going to go back to the way they were in the year 2000. They are not. They just are not. We are in a different world. Okay.
Right. Absolutely. I just saw that I think either today or yesterday, Tallarico visited El Paso to talk about immigration. And he used an analogy that I really wanted to state, because I thought that it was so deep and so accurate. He said, our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front and a lock on the door. He said, we can welcome immigrants who want to come here and contribute to our economy, make us richer and stronger as immigrants have always done throughout our history. And we can keep out folks who want to do us harm. I just really love that. I love that analogy.
I do too.
And I think that will resonate with so many Texans, especially Hispanic voters. And again, the Hispanic voters here lean right. They don't lean left.
No, they don't.
While they lean to the left on issues like immigration, they tend to lean right on issues such as abortion and
taxation.
Right. So they're really in the middle.
Family values.
They're very moderate at the end of the day. They're independent voters.
Yeah. And it's hard to swing them one way or the other. It's just really frustrating. Like I said, and I think that is a great analogy. And I know, speaking to a lot of people, they don't want rapists, murderers, narco terrorists, like whatever, being able to enter the country, which I get. I do. I don't want those people here either, but I also think we don't talk about our own citizens that are rapists and murderers and do bad things are also already living here. And we don't do enough about them in the first place that are legal citizens.
Right. And another point
look at the amount of sexual assaults and stuff
brought up is that what's happening now with ICE is going after small business owners, moms and dads, little kids, innocent people who have not committed any crimes.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that is different than deporting criminals.
Yes. I mean,
and it's in Texas, 28% of the state's population is fluent in Spanish. I believe that there are more Hispanics in Texas than Caucasians, if I'm not mistaken. White people are now a minority here. And I believe that running on this immigration reform policy is really, 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 really going to help him, because I also believe that there are millions of white Texans who interact with immigrants on a daily basis in a positive way.
Yes. And, something that, I think about a lot is, at least this is what I've read, is that no nation that is exported its farm labor, which means another nationality comes in and does the majority of your farm labor, has ever gone back to convincing its native citizens to do that farm labor. And I think that's very, very true. We very much depend on our immigrants to come in and to work our fields, to work our animals, to pick the fruits and vegetables that we all enjoy at the supermarket every day that we need to survive, to do the jobs that Americans do not want to do. Right.
We totally rely on their labor for so many different purposes. And I just checked the statistics, and Texas is actually exactly 40% Hispanic and 40% non-Hispanic white. So it's split basically 50-50, which is really interesting. But the other thing about the election too is that something that I think a lot of people out of state don't understand about Texas is that Texas does not have a very large African-American population to back Jasmine Crockett. We are not a state with a large Black population, and that's just a fact. West and South Texas in particular have very, very, very low numbers of African Americans.
Yes.
And so there's not a coalition behind her. We're not like states like South Carolina, which is so important in deciding who becomes the presidential candidate, because they are one of the first primaries in the country. They're in the Democratic primary, African Americans basically pick the candidate because there's more Black Democratic voters there than any other group. We don't have that in Texas. It's a totally different electorate.
Yes. No, this is very true. And this goes back to identity politics, which it shouldn't be, once again, about, Jasmine Crockett's race, ethnicity, the fact that she's a woman. That should not be part of the discussion. Unfortunately, that is not part of the reality that we live in, right? It is very unfortunate because I believe she's doing a really good job, and I believe that she's a good person, and I believe that she stands for things I believe in. Although I do not, from my readings, I understand that she's a big supporter of Israel, and I'm extremely anti-genocide. And so that, for instance, is a reason I would not vote for her. Is I do not support Israel. I do not, and I know it's technically, I think, in Texas, illegal now for businesses to even be anti-Israel or to say anything about Israel. I know I live outside the city of Austin now in a small suburb, and my town tried to claim that we weren't going to send, they wanted us to send, the state of Texas wanted our little small, mostly blue collar town to send over $3 million of tax revenue to Israel to help support the Israeli army. And my town voted en masse. Republicans and Democrats stood together and said, no, that money needs to stay here to help our schools, to help with our roads, to help with the things that we need. And then Greg Abbott came down, said in a statement basically to the city that if you don't give this money to Israel, we're going to cut y'all off from state services. Which, we were strong armed into handing over that tax money that could have much better served my small, poor community.
Right.
Not that we are all poor, but is a much less wealthy area than Austin.
I think that made national headlines when that happened. It was reported on by a lot of big newspapers in multiple cities. And I was wondering, speaking of Palestine, did you see this story? I didn't put it in the news packet because it just dropped, about Susan Sarandon.
No, I haven't seen this.
She said, I'm trying to find it, but my computer is flipping out. But she said that because of her comments against Israel and her pro-Palestinian stance, that Hollywood has exiled her and that she can only now do movies in Europe and independent films because no one will work with her because of her comments about Israel. I'm not
surprised.
I mean, I don't know if that's 100% true. However, I think that it's just an example of what you were saying.
Yeah.
I cannot find it. That's so weird. It just disappeared. I had it open.
Yeah.
And then it disappeared. My computer is like really freaking out right now. It's not good. But I mean,
okay.
I love Susan Sarandon. I know she's a socialist. And I'm not necessarily that liberal, but I do agree with a lot of her stances and things that she says. And I think that she's an amazing actress, very, very talented. And she's actually one of my favorite actresses of all time.
Right.
But I feel that is really interesting to me. only because I feel that there's so many pro-Palestinian protesters in the country, and that's kind of like the here it is. Finally, oh my gosh, it's loading. Um, in the country, and that is kind of like the popular position right now. And so it surprises me that she's saying she was banned from Hollywood for calling for Gaza ceasefire. I think that's very surprising. But
Right.
given that it's such a popular position to have right now, but I guess Hollywood also is different than the general public.
Right. I mean, it is. And something that I've noticed is that we have become, as a nation, completely intolerant of people who have different beliefs than you do. And I think that's something that we all need to really work on, is that just because somebody has a different view on something means that they are now your enemy. Instead of being like, okay, so you see it that way. Why do you see it that way? Instead of it leading to further discussion, which would help us make a more perfect union, we instead turn it into attack points to be like, this person is bad because they said this and I don't agree with it. So they're the devil and they're evil and they're horrible and I hate them. And I think you should hate them too, because they don't believe exactly the same way I do.
Right.
There's
We need
far more nuance.
Right. I agree. I think that social media has influenced that so much because people live inside echo chambers now, where they only hear or see what they want to see because they only see or hear what the algorithm sends them.
This black and white thinking is not helpful at all to us actually functioning as a society. It's just not helpful.
Right.
If everything is a black or white situation and there's no gray, it's not helpful for anybody.
And almost everything is in a gray area.
It really is. And, on the flip side, right, I see these parents get very upset that, like, for instance, like the drag queens are having a story time at the library. This needs to be banned. I don't agree to my children having to see this. And I'm like, well, you don't have to take your children to it. Like, the library is a federally funded, state-funded space, which is protected by the rights of free speech and freedom of expression, which is something we Americans should be very proud of, that our country has free speech, that we have freedom of expression, that we have freedom of press, that we do not live in a dictatorship, that we are allowed to have our own opinions. And if you don't want your children involved in these activities, you're not being forced. No one's holding a gun to your head, honey.
Right. Well, that's always how I feel too about being pro-choice. I'm like, no one is forcing you to get an abortion. If you don't believe in abortion, then don't get an abortion. Like,
yes. Or, parents will rail against the school systems of, how dare you teach this book that features a gay character? And at a certain point, that's your job as the parent. If you are so petrified of your child being gay, lesbian, trans, non-gendered, whatever their gender, sexual identity is, I really believe that morality that you want to instill in your children, that is your job, not the state's. And if your morals are so sound, if they are so strong, then you should be able to put and teach your children the same morals and have the same moral foundation, moral, ethical, religious foundation in your children. Then when they're presented with those topics as a 17, 18-year-old who's about to graduate, who's about to be an adult, who's about to go to university, who's about to possibly serve in the U.S. military, who's going to be on their own in the real world where people who are different than them, who think different, who have different religious beliefs exist, they should be able to have that moral, ethical, religious foundation already. If you are failing your children, that is
I
not the
understand
state's
that.
fault.
Right. I think that it's
Why
a
are
lot
we
of
putting the burden
projection.
on school teachers?
Right,
Yes.
to teach your children, if that's what you want them to learn, then teach them that yourself. Anyway,
Yeah,
I think
that's your job and your conversation.
I think we've had beautiful discussions today. I have to wrap it up because I have to go to work soon. But I hope that you have a great day. I know it's your friend's birthday today, so I hope you have fun.
It is.
Anyways, that was my sister, Emily, joining me on the Henry Hudson Hour to reflect on death, grief, and what it meant to lose both of our parents within the past year. If you want, you can write to us at our email address, henryhudsonhour@gmail.com. And I hope you'll join me again for next week's episode with my friend and confidant, the professional artist, Ava Brooks. I'm your host, Henry Hudson, and you've been listening to the Henry Hudson Hour.